is that we must be able to get through that, at least the first phase, the first phase, so that at least the paper is sent out for review, and at least they have a chance to be sent out for review. That's one thing. First part. The second part is that it can be again, what is attractive, what is interesting, because of the unique data set, well explained and motivated. Unique data set, it can be a very unique research, a very localized issue research, but international appeal, like down here, this point very much related to that. To the unique data set perhaps also can be related to what have been tested in the literature. You added up perhaps another variable, you look into different perspective and so on. That is unique. You sell that point, you market that point. That's way, and you write it well, explain it well. The editors would think that this is something new to explore. This is something different to explore. All right. The third part, the third part there is that certainly you must have a good presentation and discussion of results, linking to the findings and theory and whatnot related to that. Means that the presentation skill and discussion also important, right? Because sometimes some of the editors, they look into that, they're like, this introduction quite interesting. Let us see a little bit more. Then they look at the results. Not to say the result is contradicting. Contradicting sometimes might be a good thing too, for certain journals, but not for certain other journals. But the presentation style, how you present your result, how you discuss your result, how's the perspective that you look into, what's the focus of that. That's also pretty much important to attract the editors. The mindset of editors also very much important in that sense. And most of the top journals today, whether it's in whether it's in social science or sciences in that sense, but I would say from the perspective of social science in general, is that the journals right now requires a set of robustness tests. What's the robustness test? So if you do statistical analysis, especially quantitative, you need further tests. Means that you have tested this model, the baseline model, the first model. You must some of the journal would require to do a little bit more tests to prove the result. Okay, you get this result, not just full stop. You need to prove that this result is correct. This result is robust. This result can be useful in that sense, meaningful in that sense. So a set of robustness tests is also very much important, right? From statistical point of view. Surely that abstract is very much important and conclusion is very much important. It must be linked through always, right? And always ask this question. Always ask this question. What's new? What's the approach? Is the approach new? The motivation is new? The conclusion is new? And what can you learn, or what can others perhaps learn from the research? What's new in your paper, right? What have you? What do you think is new in your research paper? What do you think is new in your research thesis, in your PhD research thesis, and so on? And the last point there that I would like to bring up will be localized issue but international appeal. Very local issue, very small, perhaps a very small issue, but we discuss it in a much more bigger frame, bigger picture. So the write-up, the discussion, the presentation is very much related. So this is where you can link. I can link also the unique data set, but this must well explained, must be motivated. Okay, this just one of my paper published some time ago in 2019. This one actually a research paper done by me and few of my friends research. Friends. On published in social indicator research questionnaire types of quantitative but questionnaire types of research, and published in this particular journal. This paper is actually about a case study of, using the case of Universiti Malaysia Sarawak student for this particular. So what I'm trying to bring you the picture of, it's a local issue. It's a case in the university, but we write it, or we construct it, or we present it in a way that have international flavor inside there. So the idea behind was having students evaluate instructor or the lecturer's performance each particular semester, each subject that they take. So we added up another variable or another perspective called physical attractiveness and psychological factors to add on into the model. So that, rather than student evaluate performance in terms of teaching ability or infrastructure and so on, but we added up a new perspective of physical attractiveness. Does physical attractiveness matters in that sense? Does psychological factors matters in that particular sense? So that brings up a new dimension from a perspective of a university. We collect the data and then we estimate it, write it properly, send up for publication, and lucky enough it got published in 2019 after few revision. So anyhow, so this is one example. There's a lot more other example that you can have a look, that anyone who can have a look of that. Right. The next part is that in this particular part 2 will be abstract is like a preview or sneak peek of or advertisement of your paper. So abstract is very important. It's like how just now that, you know, as an academician, we have our CV, our curriculum vitae, a thick curriculum vitae. Perhaps for some would have been around for quite some time in the academia world. So to summarize that, the infographic that I presented just now in one of my slides, my earlier slide, was a sneak peek, a preview of my CV. You want to know more, then you can read the CV, right? It's like an advertisement to promote this particular person, and the world today looking into visual, right? Not visual, but visualization itself. So some pictures, some numbers is there to attract some attention, right? Like how we construct or how we do our LinkedIn account, right? Itself. So it's like an abstract. So same thing goes to a journal article. Same thing goes to your thesis. Abstract is very important. Do not ignore the importance there. So with the abstract, the examiner, the reviewers might understand already what you want to do. Expectation, what the paper, what the research going to explore from the abstract. And most of the editors read abstracts, and they will perhaps make decision after reading the abstract of going to the second phase or something like that, right? Most of the time, right? So how we craft the abstract is very much important. Certainly, this depends on the journal that you want to target, whether you are doing structured or unstructured. The unstructured will be like those other journals, and the structured will be like journals that, if you want to target emerald publication or emerald publisher, then you should write a structured one. Unstructured is, you know, the other publisher journals. Some journals actually do follow the emerald style. I use the word emerald style, but a thesis normally are considered like unstructured itself, the abstract itself, except that it's required by the university or maybe by the school itself to have a structured types of emerald types of abstract itself. It's a concise, normally very short, 150. Some only have 100 words, not more than that. right? So it depends on the journal that you are targeting. If you send for journals, letters, for example, economic letters, applied economic letters, finance research letters, and all those letters related journals, it'll be much more short, very brief one, right? It be standalone, normally no reference, normally, but some abstract have reference and citation, and all abbreviation should be defined inside, and the meaning and everything else that could be used inside. This is Emerald's type of abstract, Emerald types of abstract. I'm sure most of you have seen this, or all of you have seen this, because this is from Emerald Publisher, a quite a big publisher also in the world of academia, other than this Elsevier, Talent Francis, Springer, and so on, right? MDPI. So after we have all that, you craft your paper, you write up nicely and so on, then you send for journal publication, off to journal. And then after that, we wait. We wait for the outcome, whether it's straight accept, whether it's straight reject, or whether it's send for much more proper review process, and then and so on, right? And then some wait until the picture here say wait until like this. Still no decision. Perhaps some journals. How long does it takes? Certain journals might take a while, and certain journals the queue might be a little bit longer. Certain journals the queue might be a little bit shorter. Certain journals can expand tremendously. Certain journals, so it depends on the workability, the people who work inside for the journal itself, right? So the waiting game, right? You go for publication game to waiting game, and yeah, this is, let's see. Okay, let me go ahead with let me just try. I know you can't see here. We go to we go for the last part of this part 2 will be where I promote the word publish or perish. Rather than we promote always publish or perish, we should promote publish and flourish, because publication should be something very positive towards us as an individual, towards for the institution, for the organization, for the school, for the center, and whatnot that we related to that, for the research house, and so on. Right. All right. So I have this one actually. I think I can. Let me share some. Let me. I have this thing just now. Okay. All right. This was your response. Some of your response from the recorded poll just now that I provide to you. Right, the question of why a need of publication, where I have a 6 response there. It's okay as long as some respond there. So this is the response from the participant. If you still, those of you still want to answer that, it's in the chat box there, right? And it will come out like this, like a word cloud, come out with a word cloud and something interesting, pretty interesting. This will be something also very much interesting if you analyze your literature review, perhaps, and a lot more other ways. I'm just saying that. So this from your response, it's a requirement to provide our argument meaningful, short sendiri, core develop ideas, answers new question. Yes, we need to publish, propose new information. Done. Hobbies, creativity, universities. Yeah, these are answers that will be provided. Okay, anyhow, so let me go back to this slide. Hope I can see my slide. I think you'll be able to see my slide because I share the screen. If not, it just inform me. So I'm coming into the part 3. Part 3, 4, 5 here will be a little bit, try to make some time for question if you have after this. Journal dilemma. These are some of the challenges that I highlighted for the past some of the years that I've been or managing the journals. And I also me right now, although I'm not directly involved with International Journal of Business and Society, IJBS, UNIMAS here, no longer the editor, but I'm still part of the editorial team, and also part of numbers of editorial in other journals too. And yeah, so what we have, so from my perspective, is that what's the challenges of a journal? Influx of submission. We have a lot of submission. I mean, journals normally have a lot of submission. I mean, those, especially those big journals. So that's why they only have like 5% space for publication. Imagine the submission is about 10,000. I just give a number. 10,000 submission, 5% publish. Right. But anyhow, that 5%, 10%, I mean, some of the journals accept up to 15%, some of the big journal 10%. Some of the bigger journal actually like 5% only publication from the submission. If the submission is 10,000, the 5%, yeah, you'll get the number. How many papers been published on that particular cycle itself and so on. But this is how some of my friends look at it. They say that with more submission, actually we have a higher chance, because with more submission, the percentage remain, but the published paper in terms of percentage from the submission would increase in that sense, right? Like previously, perhaps a journal only received 5,000 papers in a year, but right now they receive 10,000 papers in a year. That 5% have increased the chance of publication much more higher. That's what one of my main perspective of some of my friends. Right. Anyhow, journal also concern not just university, not just organization, not just research center, not just the school, the center, and everything else. Concern about ranking. Journal also concerned about ranking, because each journal will be ranked. Each journal would be have like in Scopus, you have site score. Like if you are in impact factor, then you are talking about how big is your IF, your impact factor, your numbers, whether you're in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Same to Scopus, whether you are in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, right? I mean, some of the universities right now says, okay, no Q3, Q4, only Q1, Q2 publication. All right. So if that being said, in the university, who are going to publish in your journal? If you're from the journal perspective. So they have that concern also. Try to increase that queues in a shorter period of time. How to increase the queue? Citation. This is related to number 4 here. Right. Financial sustainability. This is cost of managing a journal is pretty much interesting. Depends on what the journal actually spend on. From the hard copy, the soft copy, homepage, paying the editorial board, and so on and so on and so on. A lot more. I mean, different story. Financial sustainability, self-sustain. Citation also important, very much related to ranking. With higher citation, higher indexes, higher ranking, higher visibility. Not just individual, not just university, but journals too need citation, so that they can move up the queue. From Q4 to Q3 to Q2, Q1. After get Q1, they should maintain there. To sustain is another story. To get it is another story. Right? Publication trend, what is new? The journal editors, the team must know what is current, what is something that is new inside the journal. Right? Or something that has been talking, that people talks about in the research world. This one depending on the management of the university KPI to achieve the university KPI. Smart partnership means that you collaborate with the journal, collaborate with certain conferences and so on and so on, whether it's local, international, and so on. Editors recognition, journal management. This one most of the time that some university will recognize, some university would not recognize. Right, the editor recognition. But right now, a lot of publisher give give a certificate, recognize it, like for example, like Emerald, they and Elsevier also, they give recognition, not necessarily in terms of monetary, but in terms of giving up a certificate and so on. By the end of the year, you get this award, you get that award, and so on and so on. Good reviewers always never easy to find. Good reviewers. You can't send, for example, if I want to send a paper to Dr. Tang here, Dr. Tang here, who else is inside? Oh, Prof. Go is also inside here. Go so good. Alright, so if I send the paper to them, to both of them, I cannot send them in 1 year, send them, too many papers for them to review. They have other things to do also. To find a good reviewer is not easy. The pool of reviewers is not easy to maintain and manage. Right? As a journal editors, all should know this thing. This is the challenges. Receive a paper is one thing. Who going to review? Editors cannot do everything. No. or the team cannot do everything because some of them are not an expert in this particular field. Very specific field sometimes. You have to send outside. But you cannot send to the same person one time. In 1 year, you send them 10 papers? No, I'm sure if I send 10 papers to Dr. Tang to review from the journal that I manage, I think they will be very angry in that sense. So, no. This is an important issue. So yes, you have to find good reviewers, you have to try good reviewers, you have to connect to people and so on as a journal editors. Visibility related to citation, related to ranking and so on. Competition is one thing. It's also one important storyline. In Malaysia, we have about I think nearly about 20 perhaps. I use the word about 15. I know that about 15 actually on the field of economics, business, finance related journals that are indexed in Scopus, and most of them are in Q3, Q4. Not most, all of them actually Q3, Q4. I do not think there's any journal in business, economic, finance, I might be wrong, in Malaysian journal who are in Q1 Scopus. Not as I know. So they're either in Q3, Q4, all of them. And these are competition. Because you're in that particular field, you should know who are your competitors. Means that the cake is this big. The paper submitted is this big, but they have so much of the journal options. Yeah, this is competition. So why should you becoming better? Why should the author send to you? That's the challenges itself from that perspective, right? This going back to that particular direction just now, from the journal perspective. This is from also from journal perspective, from editor perspective. Why most of the what's the most common reason for rejection? Lack of motivation, not sufficient contribution, poorly written, do not flow well, methodology is perhaps not suitable, not sufficient knowledge. Yeah, when you read, sometimes we read the introduction, the editors will realize that these authors actually do not know the literature, because the authors do not cite the important literature that's supposed to be cited, and so on. Not interesting. The first line of the first sentence have of the paper have already grammatical error, perhaps a not interesting issue is have been over researched perhaps, and so on and so on. And conclusion not supported by findings. The papers found like this, but the conclusion talks about different story, a different storyline. Rejection. I use the word, they get used to it, keep trying. Everyone in the academia world been commonly rejected also when they sent to certain journals. Last year, 2021, I received more rejection than I've written a paper. I written a research paper in last year. More, I got a lot of rejection. Some of the rejection come after nearly a year. then you get some rejection from the reports and so on. Some of it come very fast, some of it comes 2 months, 3 months after that, and so on and so on. But yeah, we can cry about it, we can be angry about it, we get the rejection, but come back after a few days, after a week perhaps, and then you move forward, improve, becoming better, right? So it's not is something that that perhaps we can move forward in that sense, right? Okay, I have a question here. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, all right. If you want to ask any question, you can put in the chat box, or you can ask me straight away, no problem after this. We receive a rejection letter, right? Don't feel bad. Yeah, everyone would have been rejected in one sense or another in the academia world. It's not the evaluation. It's not a personal attack. You must accept the criticism and then deal with it. We move on. Yeah, we can cry about it. We can be angry about it. It's like the reviewer never understand my paper. No problem. The next few days, say it's okay. Let's forget about it. Move on. Send to another journal. Try, right? Try again. Never give up. Try. So once you give up, means that you're not trying anymore. Right? If you believe the reviewers are wrong, you can appeal. If not, then submit elsewhere. No problem. Move on. No hard feeling. Right? And this is hard. Is me going on. So it's okay to have emotion, negative emotion, for few days, take leave perhaps, and then after that come back stronger, come back better. Number 4 here, part 4, finding the right mix. Pretty much important also is that what is the right journal for you? It's like whether you want to there is 2 way, or you can apply both way at the same time, or whether you want to find a journal first, means that you target a journal, then you write in accordance to the journal, or you write the paper first and then you find a home for that journal. Yeah, you target or you find a home after that. There's two choices, or you can do both way, no problem. Can mix them. That's not a problem also for me, right? Both can work in such a way, right? So, but when you already target a journal, let's say you want to send to this journal, make sure you stick like a glue, follow everything, the guideline, everything else. If the journal says, use this template, this is my reference style, that's my reference style, follow closely. If the journal say they're not using Microsoft Word, Word file, they're using some PDF file, they're using some other file, follow them closely, because that's what you want. If the journal say this is my referencing style, follow them closely. Do not send them with your own format, your own referencing style. Some editors which are very strict, they will straight reject your paper, even though your research might be very interesting, but the format is wrong. Some, not all. Yeah, I come across with that. And that's where you come into picture. So this part also very important, to finding the right mix. Make sure you've done everything. If they reject, it's okay, send to the second journal, and you have to follow again the format. That's where I think a lot of authors, actually, a lot of researchers actually says that formatting is not an easy job to do. Pretty much involved in that. Can submit to multiple journals at once? Please do not do so. Please do not do so. Wait until one reject, or before you can come up with one decision from the other journal, then you send to others. It's a small world. A journal publication looks like a big world, but actually it's quite a small world. Actually, from journal perspective, right? You never know that you send to 2 journals, But the two journals editors are actually friends. Yeah, they can't discuss that, they can't disclose, but sometimes they might come across with, hey, wow, or they might discuss that, hey, we receive a paper like this. Then the other editor say, hey, we also receive a paper quite something like you, lah.